Hello, my name's Lisa and I am the drama coach. And in today's video, I am going to talk about managing dyslexia as an actor, in particular for read-throughs, because this can be really challenging. So I myself am dyslexic and I found this out as an adult, a little bit late, I suppose, but everything happens when it should. And it's enabled me to help other young people because I can spot this and help them. Now, there's a whole spectrum and it's not the same for everybody, but I'm hoping that these tips that I use myself or with my daughter or with my students might help you. If they do, fantastic. And if you have ones to add, I would really love you to add yours in the comments. So, first and foremost, often, and this might not be the case for everyone, but often reading is a chore, is a struggle, and words can jump all over the place. And you may already have your own ways of coping with this. You know, I know coloured overlays work really well for some. My daughter's just got a yellow one and it's transformed her reading. For me, I quite like a blue one. In actual fact, I've printed scripts on pale blue paper before, which has helped. So if that works for you, great, but that's not always easy in a table read or a read through, especially if you're on Zoom these days. Perhaps somebody's sharing their screen and you're trying to follow the script on screen. That can be really difficult. So I would suggest, if that's happening, having your own paper copy. But before all of that, speak to, especially with smaller projects, speak to the director. Share with them, and you can do that publicly or privately, you know, however works for you. I actually think it's quite good to let your fellow actors know some others might also be dyslexic and have some tips and tricks to help you. It can be a real superpower. You know, your brain's jumping around doing exciting, creative things, which could well be part of why you're drawn to this in the first place. But there can be some sticking points. And like I said, read through can be one. And I'm hoping the things I share in this video will help you with a read through. So recently I had a read through. So I asked for the script in advance. I mean, that's really important. It's so scary to get a script and share reading it for the first time with a whole bunch of potentially new people. You know, and the more scared and nervous you are, I find, the worse it is. So the more comfortable you can be with your script beforehand, the better. Read it as many times as possible. Highlight your lines. Some people don't find this helpful. I do. So I've moved away from blue paper. I did quite like scripts on blue paper. At the moment, I've moved away from that. I'm using white paper and I like pink. I find that pops my lines the most. Sometimes yellow is good for me, but it depends on the lighting. I really like the pink. For me, it brings out my lines, the black against the white. It sort of calms it down and I can scan the page and see that my lines are coming up. I mean, this becomes difficult if you've got every other line in the script, and I'll talk a little bit about that more later. But if you've got a few scenes or a few lines or chunks, to highlight it in a colour that works for you, I would avoid, there's a really dark purple in this pack, and I've tried that, and to be honest, I can't see the words well at all. The black and the purple, it's just too dark. There was a really dark green, I think. Anyway, so pink works really well for me. Give it a try. It helps my lines pop and it helps me see that they're coming up. I try to avoid highlighting anything else in pink. If you're highlighting some stage directions or an action, then perhaps use a different colour. I actually prefer to underline. I know I'm not speaking it. I tend to underline them in yellow or green or something else. So give that a try to start. So get the text beforehand. Tell the director that you are dyslexic and that you will need a few things when it comes to this read through, that you will need the script in advance. Obviously that can be difficult with projects that perhaps directors don't want to. They're worried about their work being shared, but you know, you need access to this script. So talk to them nicely and get the script ahead of time. Read it, get familiar with it, highlight your lines. Then any words that are new to you, maybe they're a bit tricky, maybe they're medical or just unfamiliar to you, I would write them phonetically at the side, or a pronunciation of a name. Google it and just write it phonetically, as it sounds. I use pencil for this, so it doesn't boggle my mind. A pen would be too strong. I use pencil just to guide me and to know that I've gone through that line and I do know how to say that word. So that might help you. On the subject of words and reading was never particularly pleasurable to me, unfortunately. And my friends will get lost in worlds of really exciting books, and I couldn't. It took a very special book to keep my concentration, and it probably took a particular type of font, but I didn't know that at the time. So reading wasn't particularly pleasurable for me. However, funnily enough, I quite enjoy reading plays. Again, I think the way that they're broken down and that my mind can imagine them on stage, or perhaps screenplays. So find what you like to read and try to read more. The more you read, the better, because you are exposed to more words and you get more comfortable with it. And I wish I'd realised when I was younger that I quite liked plays and screenplays, because I would have read more. But what I did do, again, probably not when I was younger, but in more later life, was start watching TV with the subtitles on. This might drive some other people crazy, but I remember years ago seeing the word naive, for example. It was in somebody's lines and it popped up, and I thought, I know that word, I've used that word, but I never thought it would have been spelt like that. So little things that will almost subliminally, I can't even say that, subliminal message of these lines, these words that you've heard, or maybe even words that you've never heard before. You'll be seeing how they're spelled, to the point, well, maybe you won't remember how to spell them, but you will recognise them in a script because you've recognised them in the subtitles. So for me, I would have loved that top tip when I was much younger. Oh, you can watch TV and that's actually learning. Fantastic. So yeah, stick the subtitles on. I think personally that's invaluable. And just tell the people around you that you need it, and try to enjoy observing the people and absorbing the words. Cool, it's ironic that I'm talking about words today and getting them in a little bit of a jumble, but there we go. I'm going to check my notes because there's lots I want to say about this. So get the script before and talk to the director, yes. Coloured paper if it works, or highlighter, yes. Let's have a look. Oh yes, I find this helpful. With a different colour highlighter or perhaps a pencil, circle the scenes that you're in. Again, if you're in absolutely every scene, this is not that helpful. But if you're in particular scenes, especially if you're doing an in-person or a Zoom read-through, I like to highlight the scenes that I'm in so that I can have a quick flick through and go, oh, okay, I've got 4 pages break now, or 6 scenes break. You're not going to switch off, you're not rude, you're listening to everyone else, but you're not going to have that panic potentially of, oh, is it my scene, is it my scene? Okay, I've got 3 scenes, I'm going to listen, absorb, enjoy. I'm going to get my script ready, because another thing I suggest actually is having your printed script rather than following it on a screen, rather than having to scroll or somebody scrolling it for you. Having a printed script, have it large enough. I was a bit stingy on my paper actually for my recent read through, and it was probably a little on the small side because I'd done 2 pages per A4 side. I'd go for 1 in future. So you've got your scenes highlighted, you know they're coming up, and you can sort of flick through and get yours ready. Perhaps if the screen is being shared, the rest of the script, you can sort of follow along the rest of the script, knowing that you're ready at page 87, ready for yours here on paper. And if you're following the paper, I like a really sharp pencil, just to keep me on the line. I just keep it at the edge because, again, my brain can jump and mash a couple of lines together sometimes. So I just like to keep a pencil where I'm at. That helps me. Maybe it'll help you. So I also find paper easier to read than a screen. So I like that printed script. Okay, I've got relax and feel safe, that you've done the work. You've read the script. You know there's no scary words about to jump at you because you've said them out loud, you've checked them, you've read them, you've written them at the side. So try to relax. I mean, it's great that you're excited for a read through because you're bringing all of your energy and your performance to it, but try not to be nervous of the words and nervous of the script because you have read it. You are familiar with it. So try to relax in the knowledge that you have done that work and that you deserve to enjoy this experience and not feel panicked. Because as soon as you start to panic, it makes it a whole lot harder. Your words will jumble and your brain gets fried. Excuse me, I've got something in my eye now. So don't panic, because that is not going to help anything at all. And again, if you've spoken to the director, perhaps suggest that they work in a short break. If this is a 2-hour plus read through, that's a long time to concentrate and to keep following those words. And the other actors will probably be grateful for a quick loo break. An hour in, everyone can pause their screens or whatever, pop off to get a drink, go to the loo, shake it off, whatever needs to happen. Give your eyes a break away from the script. Suggest that to the director, because they want to get the best work out of you. And I think the other actors will be grateful for that too, if it's not already been worked into the schedule. So a little rest break, just a few minutes, can make a big difference in your on-text performance. Scan and read ahead if possible. I sort of mentioned this with the highlighting which scenes you're in. Again, if you are every other word in the entire piece, you haven't got a chance to scan ahead. But you can scan ahead and see what's coming and go, oh yeah, I know this scene, I'm okay with that. Or even within a paragraph, I think I've taught myself to do this. I sort of quickly scan the paragraph so that I've got, yeah, this is what I know, what the character's saying and meaning here. So I know where my pause should be and my push should be, or I know she's feeling upset or in love or whatever it might be. So I know how to play this line. Just sort of give it that little scan ahead if you can. If you can practice scanning ahead, it will really help you. I hope it makes sense. I'd love to know your comments if you do something similar to this. So yeah, scan and ask for rest breaks. I've said, I think, everything that I want to say. So in summary, it can be really hard as an actor with dyslexia, but it can be really empowering too. Your brain works differently to some, and actually there are way more dyslexic actors out there than you realise. It's probably just a Google away and you'll see some really famous names of actors with dyslexia. Do what works for you. Is it printing, highlighting, scanning ahead, doing the prep? Is it just getting more familiar with words, like sticking the subtitles on every time you watch the TV? Yeah, it's so hard to say relax, because I know that a read through can make me feel tense and scared. These days it makes me feel more excited, because of course scared and excited, I'm sure teachers have told you this, are really, really similar emotions. So when you feel nervous, you can just try and flip it and be, I'm excited about this. But do the work as much as possible. Be brave, speak to the director and say, this is what I need in order to get the best out, in order for you to get the best out of me. On that subject, actually, I had one more thing to say. Yes. It's really kind when people read in for, I don't know, they might be reading the descriptions, or somebody might be absent and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll read in for that character. I would suggest you don't if you're dyslexic. Focus on your character, on the things that you've done the work for. Yeah, I'd freak out a little bit if they were like, hey, Lisa, they did, it's cool. You read in for so-and-so. And it's going to make me nervous, and I haven't pre-highlighted it, and it's going to be really, really tricky. So if you've already spoken to the director, they're not going to nominate you. And you'll find there'll be an actor on your team who's like, hey, yeah, I'm great at sight reading. Bring it on, I'd love to read an extra character. Don't be the one who volunteers for an extra character, but it's hard because you're probably also somebody who's really keen to impress and get into it, and perhaps you feel the pressure that you should. If you've already spoken to your director, they're not going to volunteer you to do that kind of extra role. So don't push yourself out there and sight read. I mean, you can get better at sight reading by doing it, but I would suggest don't sight read where you're also trying to do your own character. Go and volunteer for sight reading in a different space. I do it on We Audition. I sight read to help people rehearse or self-tape their things on weaudition.com, their auditions. I absolutely love it, but I was terrified when I started, and it's got me better. It has made me better at sight reading, maybe not at chatting, but my sight reading's got better. My confidence at, here's something on the screen, I'm going to read it for the first time, has improved. So you can find other ways to improve your sight reading. Don't make that the read through when you're trying to create a character and bring a character to life and already dealing with so much. Yeah, just don't put your hand up for that one. There's other things you can volunteer for. That would be my advice. I really hope that's useful to you. I wish you the best of luck in your sight reads, table reads, read-throughs. Please reach out to me or anyone else for help if you need it. And I would love to hear if it goes well. Good luck, enjoy your read-throughs, and thank you so much for watching.